Hello everybody, this is Connor at BoatsDon'tSink here with another deck profile for you all. Today we're going to be talking about the Quintessential Quintuplets 2, the most recently released set. We're going to be looking at an 8-choice Ichika deck, the first of the 5 sisters. Ichika's cards tend to focus on the choice triggers. She does have one return trigger from the Quintessential set and a standby, but most of her cards are yellow and are going to be focusing on these choice triggers. So we've put together an 8-choice list to try to take advantage of some of those. Two things that I really noticed when looking through Ichika's card pool to build this deck are, one, her lack of back row cards, and even bigger lack of good back row cards. And second, that she doesn't really have very many soul trigger cards that we actually want to be playing in the deck. Our finisher costs 9 stock to resolve 3 of, and this deck doesn't really have good forms of stock generation outside of just triggering choice triggers, which means we want enough soul triggers to be able to put into our stock, but soul trigger cards tend to be costed, which means that we have a bunch of costed cards that we don't actually want to play in our deck, and we've got to account for that. I think we've done a decent job of it here, but there are a lot of other options you could fit into the deck. So looking at our Climax combos themselves, we're playing the new Set 2 Level 1 combo, Awkward Love Ichika Nakano. This is pretty interesting combo. It's kind of like the Cigarettes effect with the Otsuba 1-0, Shizu 1-0, etc. But instead of milling 2 to salvage X, you're actually doing sort of the Rico assist thing, where you just reveal the top card and salvage a level X or lower. So you have less selection, just due to only getting to see one card off the top to determine your level. You're more often going to get stuck salvaging a 0 or 1 than you would with milling 2. But you have Twin Drive built in, so you can trigger check 2 times, helping you A, pay out choice triggers that you hit, but B, also hit more choice triggers, which can help you build both hand and stock as the game progresses. Our level 3 combo is the Set 1 level 3 combo. Set 2 did not give us anything good enough to replace it, and really it's still one of the best finishers in the game overall, only sort of held back by the cards surrounding it. Yeah, so deeper look real quick at the level 1 combo. On play gains 1500, and I've pretty much already explained what the combo itself does. Ideally, we are fielding, as many of these as we can, as many times as we can. Because being able to pay 1 in the attack phase means we're going to be able to keep clean stock, hopefully. And also, the salvage effect, we're probably going to want to resolve multiple times, just due to not being able to consistently get high-level cards off of it. However, most of our high-level cards can be grabbed off of choice triggers, so between the combo, salvage, and choice triggers, we have access to most of our waiting room. One other notable thing, we do have a lot of good level 0 utility in this deck, so this combo being able to grab any of our zeros means that we also have very good access to utility profiles. So overall, pretty good combo for the deck. Oh, that was the wrong direction. Level 3 combo, we're looking at Set 1 Level 3 combo, as I've said. This is a pretty popular card that's already had some tournament success. On play, look at top 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose 1, put it in your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. And Climax combo effect is when you play the Climax, you pay 1, discard a Quintuplets character to gain the following ability. When this card's damage is cancelled, you can deal 2 damage to your opponent 2 times. That's a lot of damage output, especially if you have multiples of these. You're attacking 3 times, and each one they cancel is a total of 4 more damage coming at them. It's pretty easy to finish out games if your opponent's already at level 3, sometimes even if they're not. And we're playing some cards to try to help that a bit as well. One of the card's biggest weaknesses is like rest counters and stuff like that, since it doesn't actually have any protection on itself, so we've tried to fit some into the deck to give it a bit of protection, as well as some other cards to help either buff its soul or act as off finishers in the case that we don't have enough resources for 3 of these Ichikas. Overall, though, very powerful card. Now, looking at the level 0s, I mentioned we have some really strong level 0 lineup. First up, we have the shortcut hairstyle Ichika Nakano. This is the clean cut from the Quintessential set. 3k during your turn, and when it reverses battle opponent, choose one of your other quintuplets characters, rest it, move it to your backstage. Pretty standard effect. These have kind of fallen out of favor recently in the meta due to a lot of like runners and stuff like that. But this deck can very easily tri-field, so playing these is going to give us a really good opportunity to just push aggressively and hopefully get some additional cards out of it. As well, we have a lot of ways to search this at level 0 to capitalize on our opponent playing anything that we can get a reverse against. Second, we have Pure Wish Ichika Nakano. This is from set 2. At the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you may move this card to the open middle position of your center stage. Already a good start. We have seen a number of cards recently with this effect that are oversized. This Ichika is not, unfortunately, so it does not act as a plussing body on board, but your opponent has to be able to answer it in 2 lanes to be able to remove it, so it might be plussing a decent bit of the time anyway. Second effect, when this becomes reversed in battle, you may reveal up to 3 from the top of your deck. If you reveal 1 or more, choose a character with Ichika in its card name, put it in your hand, put the rest in your waiting room, and then discard 1. So Rise effect for Ichika only. Thankfully, we're only playing Ichika cards in this deck. But this means that it might be hard for your opponent to answer, and even if they do, you get utility. This also has synergy with our clean cut, because if we're able to tri-field, we can play this in a side lane and clean cut our middle position character, and then open up a spot for this Ichika to run to, which makes our tri-fields even better. Alternatively, we can crash this in to get a check top 3 hand fix, and then clean cut it to the back, and then run it back to the front to get another hand fix, or just leave it in the back and push it up on our next turn to attack again. So really good synergy with the clean cut, great card overall. We also have As an Actress Ichika Nakano. This is the new Ricky from set 2. On play, look at the top card of your deck, put it on the top of your deck or into your waiting room. And on play from your hand, you can pay 1, clock 1, search your deck for a level 1 or lower character. This can A, get our clean cut, B, get our Rise, C, get literally anything else we want, basically that's not our finisher. It can get our level 1 combo, it can get our Brainstorm, etc. It's just really good, really powerful selectivity, and something we're going to want in the early game almost every time. And last, for our plussing zeros, our Brainstorm itself. It's a pretty interesting Brainstorm. Pay 1, rest 2 to Brainstorm 5. But it only can search characters with Ichika in their card name. Thankfully, that's our entire deck, meaning this is actually a really powerful Brainstorm. Second effect is pay 1, sack this, check top 4, add a Quintuplets character to hand. Put the rest in waiting room. Meaning that this card in 1 turn can go through 9 cards in deck, so it's a powerful deck control tool, as well as powerful hand fix and trying to dig for cards. And any other turn that we just want to Brainstorm, it's going to hit more often and still give us access to every card in our deck, pretty much. So very powerful Brainstorm in this deck. Now for our utility cards that aren't necessarily a card advantage, but are still really good at helping us get where we want to go. We have Operation Doppelganger Ichika Nakano. This is from set 1. It counts as a Yotsuba on stage. Irrelevant for this deck, but maybe relevant for some others. I like this card a lot. It's a drop search, so it can search out any card that you want, and being a level 0, you can always grab it off of your level 1 combo to search something for the next turn. But I like it because it gains a soul in the middle position of your center stage. So as the game progresses into level 1, 2, and 3, you can always attack with this as a 2-soul beater even without a climax, or 3 with 1, just by putting it in the middle position. When I played the Yotsuba level 1 combo, this was one of my favorite cards to just constantly grab back, because you could always get it for similar reasons as this Ichika level 1. And it could then search whatever you need and also push for good damage. So powerful card that is, you know, if you resolve multiple copies of your level 1 combo, this is probably fairly frequently going to be a card that you grab off of at least one of them. Next, we have Secretly Making an Effort Ichika Nakano. This is our Climax swapper. Our level 1 combo is, as I've said, something that we would like to resolve multiple times, so having a Climax swap is going to make that more consistent, as well as just being able to consistently get our finisher Climax into our hand. It is a check top 3, add 1, but sometimes you still just don't find the correct Climax, and this is going to increase our consistency there. The other effect on this card is also very powerful in this deck. On play, you can choose a card in your hand and put it into your stock. Normally, I'm not super high on these kinds of effects, but our finisher being a cantrip effect on play means that we actually only need 4 hand to resolve triple combo. Right? If we have 3 Ichikas and the Climax, each of the Ichikas is going to replace themselves in hand to be the 3 cards to discard. So stock is the real limiting factor on this deck, not hand. So being able to put a card from hand into stock can help us reach our triple finisher threshold in games where we might not have otherwise. We're playing 1 copy of A New Story, Ichika Nakano. This is the promo pack from the Tournament Store Assist pack. It is the same effect as one of the old shop promos from set 1, which was red and had all 5 girls on it. So if you're trying to stay in Ichika only, you can actually play either of them. And there's an argument that the old one is actually better because it's red, and we do play red in this deck, and it's the color that we need to fix for more than yellow, because most of our cards are yellow. I just put this one in because it's Ichika alone, but the old red promo might actually be a better option. You can play it without fulfilling color requirements, meaning even early game, if you play the red one, you're not going to have issues putting it on board. You can discard one and sack it to salvage any character. Pretty strong effect in this deck where waiting room access is something that is often restricted by level as to what we can grab, and our brainstorm searches. So this gives us waiting room access for any card, which we might need at level 3 to get a 3rd finisher or something like that. And then the 3rd effect is act, rest this card, give a character 1,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This is going to help us get our level 1 combo and level 1 secondary attackers, and even some of our 2-1s just a little stronger to hit certain power thresholds that are pretty important. This deck, it wants to have a lot of cards that hit high power levels, but all of the cards that Ichika has fall just barely short of being where they want to be. So playing some power pumps is actually pretty strong in this deck to get you right over those numbers. And we'll see in the other options section, I actually have a lot of power pump cards there that you can consider playing. We're also playing two copies of Mock Trial. This is a 2-1 event. Look at the top card of your deck, choose up to 1 Quintuplets character, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, put the rest in waiting room, and choose one of your opponent's characters, return it to their hand. This is basically just protection for our level 3 combo. We are weak to things like rest counter, minus soul counter, etc. And Ichika really wants direct attacks since her effect activates on cancel. And if you direct for 4 or 5, if it sticks, great. If it doesn't, you get to go for 4 again. So those direct attacks can be really powerful. You don't really want your actual attack itself to be for less damage than the cancel burn. Because then if it sticks, you're kind of boned on the amount of reach that you get. So this really helps us there. It also replaces itself with a Quintuplets character from top card of deck, so as long as you don't miss, you're not losing out on discard targets for your level 3 combo either. Now soul triggers. As I said, we need more soul triggers so that we can actually do things with our choice climaxes. So we have tried to fit the best soul triggers we could in the deck, but as I said, Ichika doesn't really have great soul trigger cards, unfortunately. First up, we have Spur of the Moment Reply, Ichika Nakano. Very simple card. It's just a 1035, gains 1,000 for each of your other Ichika during your turn. So it attacks for 75, which is a good number. It's 85 with Climax. However, Eris 1-1s are also 85. So we're barely short of being able to reverse them. You do beat over other standby decks. Quintessential Quintuplets, you can't reverse their blue 1-1 anyway, but their 2-2 is 8k, and their one other 1-1 is 7-5, so you're going to be reversing both of those and Mushoku's 1-0 Ghislaine you can get over. So this is a good power level, but against Mushoku's Eris specifically, you're going to need a little more power to get over. This basically just acts as a costless card that we can add off of a choice trigger if we don't want to be paying stock for playables, but we need hand. Otherwise, you can just throw it in your stock, and it's a card that you're not going to need late in the game, so it doesn't hurt to bury it into your stock with a choice trigger. We have Making Curry Ichika Nakano. This is from set 1. This is a 2-1. This is actually one of the better Soul Trigger cards in the set, in my opinion, that you can like play for this purpose. During your turn, gains 1500 for each of your other quintuplets, so it is a 12-5 on turn if you have a full board. And then when you play a choice trigger, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck or into your waiting room, and this gets the following ability. On reverse, you may put the top card of your deck into your stock. So this is going to be 13-5 at least when you play a Climax. If you have the assist in play that we're playing, it can be a 14-5, which can at least threaten counters, if not kill most early plays. Still going to struggle a little bit against standby decks that have multiple like globals and assists out, but other early plays it is at least forcing a counter from. And gets to refund its own stock cost when it reverses the battle opponent. So it's something that you can play down and not really worry about as much, that you pay a stock for it. It's not really eating into your resources, as long as you can get a reverse. What an Elder Sister can do. This is the assist we've chosen to play from set 2. It is a level assist to characters in front of it. When you trigger check a choice, if this does not have a marker under it, you can marker a quintuplets character from waiting room. And then as an act ability, you can put a marker underneath this card into your waiting room to send one of your opponent's characters to memory. And at the beginning of the encore step, it will go back to their stage in any position. So this is a basically like a bounce effect to protect our finisher from counter step and open up direct lanes. We can just play this at level 2 and try to hit a choice at some point to stockpile a marker so that we can open up lanes for free. This does also buff our early play. We are playing an early play. So this can give it enough power to maybe contest board as well, which can help us build stock. You do have to be careful though, because this does cost stock to play, so you don't want to eat too many resources on making a board at level 2. We are playing one backup. This is an anti-change backup for discard 2 cost. As I said, hand usually isn't the limiting factor for this deck, it's stock. So, you know, if you do get an early play down and your opponent frontal attacks it, you can afford to play this card to get rid of their early play and sort of swing the game back into your favor and give you a little more time potentially to set up for your level 3 combo, or just stop your opponent from doing powerful plays on their own turn. So I do like the one copy of this. It has a choice trigger, so it's pretty easily accessible. And it can discard anything, so if our hand clogs on climaxes or events, we don't have to worry about those getting stuck in our hand and not being able to discard them for our finisher. So it gives us just overall good utility. It's not something I would rely on a lot. Most of the time, you're probably not fielding a lot of like board presence cards to utilize this with, but it's there for when you need it. We play a full playset of the early play, the Quintessential Quintuplets Ichika Nakano from set 1. 2 or less climax, -1 level in hand. Gets 500 for each other character, and it heals to stock. Heal to stock is pretty important, because we would not want to be paying 2 stock for early plays in this deck. So we can just get away with paying 1 stock for our early play. It is relatively large, 11 on its own, 12-5 with the assist, and we do have the anti-change backup to protect it. A lot of games you're not going to be like aggressively going for fielding multiples of these, but it does offer a healing option when it's important. And lastly, we have in a Santa suit Ichika Nakano. This is a one of. Sometimes you're just not going to quite have the amount of resources that you need for triple Ichika, and if you are like only 1 stock short or whatever, you can use this to deal a little extra damage, or in some games, if you have a resource, like if you have more than enough resources, if you get to like 11 stock, say, and you don't need to use it to bounce your opponent's characters, this can get you an extra damage. It's just on play, reveal top. If it's quintuplets, you can deal 1. And then on attack, if you have 4 or more other characters, you can give a character 2500 and a soul. So in the cases where you're fielding two combo and this, you can also pump Soul into your combo to make your cancel burn effect a bit more threatening. So just a nice one of to fill that niche role sometimes. As far as other options for the deck go, as I said, it is mostly power scaling options, but there are a couple of sort of like alternatives in the direction you can take the deck build from the ground up. The set 1 level 1 combo in a Yukata Ichika Nakano is still pretty playable. On attack, it gains 1500, so same power line. And then on attack, if the Climax is in play and your hand has 6 or less cards, look at top 3, choose a Quintuplets character, put it in your hand, put the rest in waiting room. It doesn't have as much inherent synergy with Choice Trigger, but is still an overall pretty solid level 1 combo. And the main reason we would consider this card right now is actually a card in set 2. New Year Ichika Nakano specifically supports that level 1 combo. So first effect is when your other Quintuplets character is put into waiting room from stage. If this is in your backstage, you can sack this to return that character as rest. Kind of good for like looping combo or keeping an early play alive or whatever. But the second effect, you can rest this, give a character 1500 power, which is already really important, as I've said, with like hitting those power thresholds. Can make a lot of your cards big enough to get out of counter range or threaten things that they really wouldn't be able to threaten otherwise. But additionally, if the character you're targeting is the level 1 combo from set 1, you also gain the on reverse like stock removal effect, where you get to send your opponent's character to stock, meaning that they can't encore it, they can't activate on death effects, etc. This is really good in a couple matchups. These kinds of removal effects especially have been really good at targeting Hololive lately. Unfortunately, Ichika herself does not have any like stock bombs, I don't believe. So you don't actually have ways to present enough removal threats to really shut down decks that are reliant on death. But you can shut down 1 or 2 of their effects here and there using this back row with the old level 1 combo. And as I said, it's just good for meeting power thresholds. There's also an option of another Brainstorm. If you're not a fan of the Brainstorm 5 having to rest 2 characters, you can play the set 1 Brainstorm. It only rests 1 character and only hits on choice triggers, but only brainstorms for 4. And its other effect is when you play a choice trigger, you can top check add for Quintuplets character or event, which can help you get the bounce event into your hand. Next card, this is a 004K that has Twin Drive. All your characters are always going to be Ichika. So during your turn, this attacks for 4000 and can Twin Drive. It can help you A, keep your stock clean, B, hit more choice triggers, C, answer oversizes, which is pretty solid. I think that, so there's also a level 1 with the same exact effect as this. I think this might be a little better because 4K is better at 0 than 6K is at, or 6.5 is at 1. Just because 1s scale on like 1/1s being really big. But this card might be worth considering. As I said, the 1/1 also exists. This card I would be a lot bigger of a fan of if it had a soul trigger, which it does not, unfortunately. But still a playable option, still gives you more Twin Drive, keeps your stock clean, helps you hit those choice triggers. I unfortunately, as I've said, just don't think this deck can do enough with its choice triggers to make them something you want to like hit every turn. It's nice when you do, but eventually you're going to run out of things to target with your choice triggers in this deck, just because we don't have good like level 1s with choice triggers. We also have Owner of the Mess, Ichika Nakano. This is an alternative to the 2/1 assist that we're playing. You can run this. It's also a level assist. Instead of giving you the bounce utility, it is when you trigger a choice, you can discard a Quintuplets character, look at top 2, choose 1 card, put it in your hand, put the rest into waiting room. You can grab anything, meaning it's good for looping Climax Combo, since you can dig for more choices, and it's good at getting the bounce event to your hand for the matchups where you want it. Which, you know, you hit a choice, you might get the bounce event, the other one hits a choice, it's going to get like an effective bounce, so trade-offs are really just whether you want it at level 1, and whether you want to be able to dig for more climaxes off the check top 2, or just hand fix in general. Drawing back Ichika, I don't think this is a particularly good card, but it is basically like the only other back row that's not costed that you can use with the rest to Brainstorm. And it does give power. It's a global 500 cross turn to all of your Ichika, and at the beginning of your Climax phase, you can give 2 of your Ichika 500 extra power. So it's 1,000 power to 2 of your lanes, which is enough to get the 1075 up to 85 to contest, or really 95 with a Climax in play, to contest Eris with 2 Galanes or force a counter out of Eris with 1 Galane, as well as get over and out of counter range against a bunch of other things. The 1,000 power also matters for the 2-1 that reaches like 14.5, pushing it into and out of counter range for Kanata 3-2 against Hololive is very important. So this might just be like an important card that I decided not to include, just depending on what you're playing against. You can play Good Actress Ichika if you want. This just has 2 change effects. It changes into 2 cards that are already in the list anyway. I just didn't have room for this card. Nor do I think either of the cards are, you know, important enough to the game plan that you need to like be changing into them. Like you can just find them otherwise. But it changes into the 1075 or the 2-1 level assist. Rooftop of Memories Ichika Nakano is once again just another card based on power. It's on play, you can blink one of your opponent's characters to memory and bring it right back to stage. I don't think this effect is particularly good right now. Minus soul decks aren't great, and not much else really has like lingering effects that you need to worry about. But on attack, you can pump a character 1500, which may or may not just be enough. I wouldn't rush to put this card in, but you know, if you find yourself wanting to pump your clean cut extra power or something like that, maybe it's worth playing. And in conclusion, this is the list I put together, lacking most of the power cards, but with plenty of room to fit them in if you so wish. Unfortunately, the Soul Trigger options are a bit lacking for an 8-choice deck, so we have to make do with what we've got. Often you might just be putting an early play into your stock, but, you know, the level 3 combo basically makes up for it at the end. It's very powerful, it's going to end games. And you have the consistency to get there, as long as you can generate the resources. So, you know, if you like Ichika, it's a pretty decent deck. It's definitely carried by the finisher, I'd say. But, you know, you have good enough cards to get you there. So, if you're an Ichika fan, congratulations. Thank you for watching. You can find me at BoatsDon'tSink on Twitter. You can find our store at Iron City Games on Facebook or ironcitygames.tcgplayerpro.com. If you're looking for singles or sealed product or playsets or anything, go check us out there. You can find it all for great prices. We will see you next time, hopefully with a Nino deck. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you then.